Hello and welcome back. I've dealt with a lot of backend projects like my last one, Quizia, or the Express Files, Quick Files, to-do list. All of this had to do with storing data and showing data. Now, if you saw the website, or if you saw the video, not the website, it looks very bad. So what I thought of is I can learn some GSAP and Locomotive to make my future websites good. Locomotive was used for smooth scrolling. GSAP was used for let's say animation. Like, see, this is something crazy happening. I wanted to implement this in my websites, so I thought of learning it. And what better way to learn than its documentation? Getting started, we will start the installation. And because this is my first time, I will just use the CDN instead of installing the npm package. First of all, let me make the folder and the files necessary. Okay, so I just made a basic boilerplate for HTML, CSS, and no JavaScript for now, but I've just linked it within my HTML page. Now I don't want the video, and also let me plug in this CDN, in which it's written, this GSAP object serves as the access point for most of GSAP's functionality. It's a generic object with various methods and properties that create control tweens and timelines. To the most important concept to understand. And here they've shown what's a tween. Basically, it says that we have to use GSAP.2 or the other two options to actually implement GSAP. Here they have shown an example using GSAP.2 and the code for all three. I will just yoink the codes. Target the element with a class of green, rotate and move to 100 pixel to the left over the course of 1 second. So dot green is the class that they give to this div. It's something like gsap.2, and then comes the class name, and then in object like brackets comes the gsap properties, or whatever they call here. So it will start from the initial position, whatever it is, and then it will make a rotation of 360 degree to reach x 100 over a duration of 1 second. Now how does that look like? Let me comment out the other things. So, and of course I have to also start the live server to see the output. And grid, there is nothing here. Is it because I have not given CSS values to anything? Height of 100, oh sorry, it's the tailwind habits. Is it visible? Okay, nothing happens. Oh right, I wrote class name here instead of dot green. Now it should work. Still not working. Okay, so I figured out the problem. The main JS, so the local script tag should be below the GSAP CDN. So if I put it above the CDN, it won't work. But if I put it below CDN, it will rotate. Alright, that's a nice animation. Let's look at something else. Okay, so figure out what a timeline is. Timeline is just the container in which the time. So the next thing is position parameter. It's just a value that you pass in timeline, which tells the timeline when to execute that animation. For example, uh, it's 1.5 written here. So let me draw it and show you. For example, this is the timeline of, let's say, 5 seconds. I'm drawing with my MacBook's trackpads off, so it would be bad. for 5 seconds. And now if I write 1.5, or assume this is 1.5, so that animation would start from here instead of starting from 0. And what minus equals 0.75 does is, for example, this is let's make a new timeline. For example, this was the original timeline where the first animation was here, the second was here, and the third was here. So now what minus equals 0.75 will do is, if I apply it on the second animation, it will go back minus 0.75 and start its animation from there. I have implemented it in my code. Yes, I've written minus equals, let's say 3. Initially, yeah. So initially, what should have been done was the square would move to the right, the pink rectangle will go up, and then the rotation will start. But because of this minus equals 3, the square moves to right and the rectangle starts to rotate because of the parameter I gave. And the plus equals 1 tells that initially, if your animation was starting here, let's take the same example as I took before. Initially, if it was starting here, you have to go 2 seconds in front and then start from somewhere here, and it will end after 2 seconds. As a beginner, I don't know how anyone would use it, but of course it would be used somewhere because it is there. And the labels, I did not understand what labels are even after reading them. And then there are just this controlling tweens and timelines um, for managing the timeline. But GSAP is actually famous for its scroll trigger. So let me read about that and tell you what it's all about. So it says the box will start animate when it enters viewport once. But if I reload the page, it's already animated there. So what's wrong here? I finally figured out how to use scroll trigger. So after reading the documentation, I just started to copy the code and write it here. I forgot to register plugin, which I asked to our friend Chat GPT, which I closed. And then too the code was not running, so I asked him again that I'm getting some error. So he told me that there is a different CDN for scroll trigger except from the gsap.min, that is scroll trigger.min. So when I wrote the CDN, it started to work. Let me explain you the code first. So I'm selecting the blue element and on scroll trigger blue, so the animation starts when dot blue enters the viewport once, and it will go to x500. So if I start at the top of the page, if I scroll down, as soon as the blue box comes in the viewport, it starts to move. It's very fast if you see. But this is another code. I'm selecting the purple element, which is the pink one, and I want to move it 300. I think it's 300 pixel, and I'm writing the code of scroll trigger. It's triggering purple. It will start when the containers start will be at the viewports start. So like right there, I think you can see where it moves. Right when this line touches the viewports start, it will start to move. And for ending it, I have set it to end when the containers end touches the viewports start, so the bottom line, but I don't know why it's not working. Let me try some different values for it. Yeah, now it works. So I've set it 50% of the view, 50% of dot purple and to the start of the container. Let me write y so it will look awesome. Yeah, and also let me write this to end. Or does it just go to the bottom? Or 80% I think would work. Yes. So that's how scroll trigger works. I'm still a newbie to GSAP. I don't know a lot of stuff, so I won't conclude by saying anything. But I think the animations are awesome. I like them a lot. It's smooth. The code is easy to understand. Just the y-axis is inverted, which was confusing at first. But except that, everything is like English language. So now I'm planning of watching this video and giving you an update or something I will build for the next video. Until then, peace out.